Hi, my name is Dr. Kinsley. I am a native English teacher, and I'm also the director of curriculum for ELC, which is the English Language Center. If we only know one language, if we only know one culture, if we only know the Indonesian way, we can't possibly be globally minded, right?
Dengan adanya program kelas bilingual di YBHK yang berkolaborasi dengan ELC, ya, kita bisa menyiapkan generasi-generasi muda ke depannya untuk bisa berpikir secara global dan juga melihat budaya luar yang lebih luas lagi. Halo Sobat YBHK, selamat datang kembali di podcast Sukses Bersama YBHK. Sekarang kita ada kedatangan guest spesial, tamu spesial dari ELC yang bernama Miss Kinsley ya. Oke, so Miss Kinsley, can you please introduce yourself to the viewers?
Yes. Hi, my name is Dr. Kinsley. I am a native English teacher, and I'm also the director of curriculum for ELC, which is the English Language Center.
Yes, very good. I believe this is not our first time meeting.
Yes, yeah. It's not our first time meeting.
You have met several times, both online and offline. Yeah. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see
I have
you.
to say it once again because it's always a joy to meet you because I love your energy and everything.
Thank you. Thank you.
I believe that everyone or their viewers will also love your energy. Yeah.
I hope so.
Alright, so I have a few things that I want to talk about with you.
Sure.
And maybe for the next few minutes, you can give your opinion on let's just have a very casual talk, which is order.
Sounds good.
Yeah, it's very good. Yeah. Okay. I think the first few things that I want to ask, maybe this is kind of personal also. Yeah. And I have like this experience from like since when I was still a young children, when I was still a kid. I was raised in a very, what do you call it again? A common house of Indonesia, yeah. And I don't have that many privilege. Yeah. So the only privilege that I have is that I learned my English language, like made it to how I am right now through my hobby.
Your hobby?
I always like to play my games.
Okay.
Yeah, I like to play games. I like to read the comics and then everything. It's basically the pop culture of everything. Yeah, I just name any English game that came up to mind, like old school game with story rich everything. And now that I have gone through my stages of life, even though I'm still very young, and I feel like the thing that made me this far is my hobby. And then, do you think that the privilege that I don't get as a kid could help me, or maybe other people who has the privilege in improving their English? And then, do you think that it's important or something?
Do you have hobbies?
Oh yeah, something like that. Oh yeah, along that line. And maybe can you like give me your opinion on the privilege around that part?
Yeah, sure. So first, I think it's unfortunate that that not everyone has the appropriate resources to learn English, right? And as you said, you learned English through a hobby, but you didn't have a resource like a tutor come to you and teach you, right?
Yeah, exactly like that.
So you learned English. It was a very self-directed way for you to learn, right? You took it upon yourself to play games and read comics and things in English, that's great. And there's many people out there that learn not only English, but other languages through their own hobbies, their own interests. I wouldn't say, I really want to diminish the stereotype of English being a privilege. It should not be a privilege. I believe that English should be a given right. I think everyone is worthy enough, no matter where you come from in the world, what your culture is, what your native language is. It should be a right to learn this language. And I say that because I'm no better than you because I was given the resources and I grew up in America, and I'm not more worthier than you. You know? And honestly, there's a big stigma behind who can learn English, who is allowed to have external resources to learn the language, and it should be for all. And I say that because English is the #1 globally spoken language in the world. And yeah, so to answer your question, I don't want to deviate too much off topic, but to answer your question, I think that finding your own interest and your own hobbies, if you don't have the resources made available to you to learn English. Now, I also teach primary grade and junior high, and most of my students have learned English on their own. So their parents don't know English. And a lot of it, the boys tell me, I learned English through playing video games for 10 years. And so, you know, I think being self-directed and having that own responsibility of this is what I want, it's not given to me, but I know how I can go and reach the goal of learning English through finding a hobby that will teach it to me.
Okay, arriving from that, all your opinion from English and from the interest and then something like that. Do you think that how important it is to learn English as a young adult, or maybe as a youth in Indonesia? And maybe can you I don't know, can you please explain to me your perspective on it? Like how important it is, because we know that as the year goes by, English has gotten more and more important, and it's more used in all kind of situation. Do you think that English will get bigger than it is now, and how important it is for our viewers and their kids, or maybe who will have kids in the future to learn English?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes. So to answer several questions in one question, the first question I want to answer is learning any language. There's a higher probability for somebody to learn it and become fluent in it if they start at an earlier age, right? So we always want to encourage our young kiddos, our young students, as young as possible to learn a second language, which in our company, we teach English. And that is because children have a greater capacity to absorb a new language rather than an adult trying to learn a new language, right? So I would say statistically, those who have any language as a second language and they learned it as a child have a higher probability of becoming fluent than just saying an adult learning a second language, just because of their brain capacity. And so I hope that answers your first question.
Yeah. So sorry to embarrass all these questions.
Yeah. Yes. And so I wouldn't. I know your second question was, you know, how important is it for anyone to speak English? And you had said specifically in Indonesia. I would say it's important regardless of where you live, right? So if you live, you know, in Spain, if you live in Mexico, if you live in other countries, it's just as important. And I don't see there being a greater importance depending on where you live. But English is one of the focus points of ELC, of our organization, is to teach people who don't speak English why it's important to provide them motivation to want to learn it. And so one of the biggest reasons is for those who know English, and especially those who are learning English as a second language, it's important to instill a globally minded perspective, right? So let's say you don't speak any English and I'm teaching you English. I am also allowing you, as you learn English, to see the world in a different viewpoint, right? And to become globally minded. And that's what is important, because English, like I said, is a globally spoken language, right? The only one. And so how can we connect with other people and other ideas and, other aspects if we're not globally minded, if we only know one language, if we only know one culture, if we only know the Indonesian way, we can't possibly be globally minded, right? What's also important is math and science are written and spoken in English across the globe, right? And so if you think about it, when we have our students in Indonesia learn math and science in your language, Bahasa, right? Bahasa?
Yeah, Bahasa.
Bahasa. How are they able to generalize and transfer the math and science in their language in a global view, because math and science are globally spoken and written in English? They're not going to be able to, right? And so our students, we encourage them to graduate from our program, graduate from senior high, and go to universities, apply to universities abroad or even in country, with them having a great competency in speaking English. And so, yeah, I hope that answers your questions.
Yeah, you answered it like perfectly. And yeah, so it's like last time when I was talking with Mr. Michael, he said similar thing about they being globally minded and everything. So what I can maybe conclude in both of this answer from both of you. So I think that learning language in general, not just English, but because English is like the most globally spoken language.
Yes.
And it opens your mind to think more wider than it is now.
Yes.
Yeah.
And just something that I want to communicate, talking about, and I just want to go back real quick about encouraging our students to graduate from our program and to go and apply to, a university abroad or in country. I just want to go back and talk about how math and science globally is derived in English. And so if we have a student come from Indonesia that knows no English, what is the possibility or probability they will get into a university?
Yeah, exactly.
There's no probability, right? And so that is one of the other things that's so important with knowing and being competent and fluent in English is it opens up doors for opportunities. And students or anyone who does not know English, they are not given as many opportunities as someone like you or me who's fluent in the language. So I just wanted to add that to one of the biggest importance of knowing and becoming fluent in English.
Okay. So now that you mentioned math and science, we all know that we are trying to imply the bilingual class in our organization. So what does ELC has to offer to our dear viewers here for the kids that are trying to get into the bilingual program by learning math and science?
So our math and science is, like you said, you're correct, it's our bilingual program. We offer two programs, the Native English Conversation program and then the bilingual program. And so in our bilingual program, where we teach students math and science, what we're doing is we are reiterating what they already know in the subjects of math and science because they are taught it by their local teacher, right, in your own language. And then we are reiterating it and teaching them again, but in English, right? And so one of the biggest benefits with our bilingual program is that the foundation of the knowledge for those subjects is already there. The students already know the content. They already know what's in the curriculum because they are taught it in their mother language, right? In Indonesian. And when we step in and we have one of our expat teachers come in and teach the bilingual program, all he or she is doing is, like I said, reiterating what they already know. So the knowledge, the foundation is there, which is a benefit, and then just converting it, transferring it into the English language. And so a benefit to that is they are, I guess this is an American term. They're having their cake and they're eating it too. They get the best of both worlds. They get their mother language, Bahasa.
Yeah, Bahasa.
Bahasa. They're using that to learn very critical information, and then they're just transferring it into English. Now, if a local teacher did not teach them those subjects, and I just came in and I started to teach them math and science, and they had no knowledge,
they would have no idea.
They would have no idea. It would be like speaking a fifth language to them, right? And so, you know, like I said earlier, our main goal in our company and ELC is to get our kids to graduate the program, so then they leave after senior high with so much knowledge, right, that they're able to, you know, use that to go into open doors, whether that's going abroad and studying at a university or, you know, working on Wall Street in Washington, D.C., right? So, yeah, that's also, you know, a huge benefit as well.
Okay. So like the main goal is to translate what we have learned in our mother language into the English,
into the globally spoken language, English. Yes.
Yeah.
And then also it's not only that, it's not just to, you know, teach them a second language, but also I want to go back to just being globally minded. So I know with math and science, you don't really learn much outside of that when you're doing algebra or something, but it will always be in the back of that student's head of, wow, I'm learning something that I can use across the world, you know? And I guess that is just a small stepping stone into cultivating a student to be globally minded and to broaden his or her lens. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. Okay. So before we end our sessions here, do you have anything that you want to say to our dear viewer about our program in Bilingual and maybe ELC as well?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Sure. So as I am the director of curriculum, I have reviewed our most recent data, and ELC is a very reputable organization. And to validate that, we are serving over 70 schools. So I think that just shows reliability and validity to how good and how great we are by looking at what the data shows us, right? So over 70 schools, that's a lot of schools, right? It's not just 10, it's 70. Yes. And then also in July, this coming July, we plan to serve over 20,000 students. And so our data reflects the quality of education that our teachers do render to our students. And then also, you know, we have two different types of teachers. We have native English teachers who are like me, who come from an English-speaking country. And then we hire and we have expat teachers employed with ELC whose first language is not English, but their second language is, and they're fluent, and they teach our bilingual programs. They teach math and science too. So we have both native language teachers and expat teachers. And the benefit of having two teachers, two different sets, is our expat teachers even our native language, all of our teachers, we come from across the world. So we have teachers from South Africa, we have teachers from America, we have teachers from the UK, from Australia, New Zealand, right? And so our students are able to, you know, when I talk about cultivating globally minded students, they're able to see that by who their teacher is. So when we have a teacher from Switzerland come in and teach our students here, they're with another person that's from a totally different culture, has different traditions, right? You know, throughout the day. And that really is another stepping stone to having them become globally minded and having our teachers talk about their own cultures. You know, I do it all the time in my classes. You know, like I just said, that's an American, American thing to say. Have your cake and eat it too, right? And in my class, I'm like, oh, you sneeze? Like today, I said to my student, I'm like, oh, he sneezed. And I was like, in America, we say bless you. So then all the students, when somebody was sneezing, they're like, bless you, bless you, bless you. So having teachers model what it looks like to live and be outside of their own country and all that they know is a huge benefit for our students, you know. And so yeah, I hope that answers your question.
You answer all of my questions like perfectly. Thanks a lot for that.
Of course. Yes, absolutely.
Okay, I think it's about time we wrap this up, and I have to say a few things to the viewers.
Yeah, of course.
I have to translate all the things that you have to say. Yeah, you have said before. So yeah, jadi setelah beberapa menit kita berbincang dengan Miss Kinsley, jadi inti dari pembicaraan ini adalah kenapa kita harus sih belajar bahasa Inggris, ya, terutama dengan adanya program kelas bilingual di YBHK yang berkolaborasi dengan ILC, ya, kita bisa menyiapkan generasi-generasi muda ke depannya untuk bisa berpikir secara global dan juga melihat budaya luar yang lebih luas lagi. Tidak hanya kita belajar dari bahasa ibu kita atau bahasa Indonesia ya seperti ini. Karena kita tinggal di Indonesia, makanya bahasa Indonesia ya. Jadi dengan adanya ILC ini, mereka bisa membantu kita lewat kelas bilingual dan program bilingual kita supaya anak-anak kita ini bisa berpikir secara global dan bisa menerima pelajaran yang ada di sini dan juga secara global ya, dengan perpikiran yang lebih luas lagi daripada sebelumnya. Ya, kira-kira seperti itu episode kali ini. Once again, thanks a lot.
Thank you for having me. Nice to see you. Yeah. It's always a pleasure.
It's also always a pleasure to meet you. You're such a huge ball of energy. I love your energy.
Thank you. Thank you.
Ya, oke. Terima kasih sudah menonton episode kali ini dari awal sampai akhir. Semoga kita bisa bertemu lagi di episode selanjutnya. Saya Djohan Effendi sebagai host, and this is
Dr. Kinsley, Director of Curriculum for ELC.
We are signing out. Thanks for watching.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.